So welcome to Stewards Watch, where we get to take a look at the incidents that happened during a Formula E weekend. In this instance, it's in the Mexico City E-Prix itself, and we get to sort of have an open debate whether or not we think the stewards got it right or wrong with their decision. Now, in this case, it's on António Félix da Costa and Nick Cassidy, who were sort of instrumental in causing collisions on lap 25 of the event, and it unfortunately meant that Maximilian Gunther retired, and Dan Ticktum also having a bit of incidents. Pico, you're with me in this one as well. And, well, we've got the touchscreen analysis, so first of all, I think we should play the clip in full, and you just talk to what actually happens.
So yeah, you'll see up towards the back of the shot, we will only really see it last minute, but we'll see that both Cassidy and Da Costa go for a dive. Da Costa's looking at getting past Dan Ticktum, whereas Nick Cassidy is focusing on his own thing. We'll see from here, Da Costa heading straight for the apex to try and get past Dan Ticktum there, but Max Gunther, very much the innocent victim in that. And he just got turned around. He got to continue, whereas Ticktum had to retire from the race.
So if we go quickly to what the stewards actually said about all this, this was the official document that got released to us at the media centre. This is António Félix da Costa for Jaguar TCS Racing at 14:38. It was decided no further action. The stewards determined that the collision between cars 13 and 7 is the result of several unfortunate elements. Now, indeed, the driver of car 37 stated a manoeuvre to overtake car 13 on the inside. Nearly simultaneously, the driver of car 13 started a manoeuvre to overtake the car 33. By doing so, he moved to the right, leaving little space for the driver of car 37, who was already committed to his overtaking manoeuvre. Now, of course, let's just get the numbers in. Car 13 is Da Costa, car 7 is Max Gunther, car 33, of course, we all know Dan Ticktum. Car 37 was the eventual race winner of Nick Cassidy. So car 13 and 37 had small contact that contributed to the collision between car 13 and 7, but which is considered by the stewards as too minor to warrant an investigation. When it comes to car 7, the driver mentioned during the hearing that he took a slightly tighter line than normal to get a better exit. The stewards consider this, that the driver of car 7 was entitled to do so, but this is an element of which also contributed to the situation, and that is important for the full picture. In light of these elements, the stewards consider this a racing incident. Now, first of all, I think, Pico, we can both agree, great that, you know, the stewards are of the open mind of that racing instance, just let them race. But what's your personal take on this matter?
It's an interesting one. There are a multitude of factors that went into the accident that happened at the hairpin. And one of the things that was mentioned in the report was the fact that Gunther and Ticktum were going for the wider line to cut in to the second apex of the hairpin to get a better run into the out and down the back straight. Now, that is something that we saw from all of the drivers throughout the day. We saw that in qualifying, we saw that in practice, that they would go out wide to slingshot them down into the long run, because they took out that chicane for this year's race. So it proved even more vital for you to get a better exit out of the hairpin. And we saw from the onboard of Da Costa that he was just aiming straight for the apex. He saw an opportunity to overtake Dan Ticktum, but he didn't realise that Nick Cassidy was halfway alongside him as well. And we say 2 into 1 doesn't go. Well, 4 into 1 didn't go, and the 4 cars that were involved, Cassidy got off actually really well from there, whereas Da Costa was spun around. Ticktum had to retire the car, and Max Gunther lost quite a lot of places.
Let's play it on a little bit more then and get to the onboard with Da Costa, because this, I think, is what we really need to see into the braking zone. So already you're sort of having to brake. I'll just marker it here. That is the 50-metre board just on the left there as well. So the drivers are already braking. You can tell, look at the steering wheel, as I mentioned earlier, the regen of energy would indicate the blue lights coming backwards towards the driver's left to come into it. So they're already in the braking zone, as I'll just get rid of this and move it on. But as you can see already, his eyes, you can see by the 2 rivets on the helmet here, his head's already pointing it's looking to the gap here from Tictum because he knows Tictum's going to go over here. So he's got the gap on the inside and he wants to look to the apex. He's got literally all this space to play with in the braking zone. He's got no idea that Cassidy's about to lunge up the inside because he's not looking in the mirror. That mirror is absolutely tiny, as you can see, because it's actually smaller. Then if you take a look here, here's the mirror on this side. It's got a bit more angle because it's also got the onboard camera here. So the mirror is just a little bit smaller than it is over here. You can see it sort of ends here. Whereas on this one, there's more off angle. So there's actually, if you want to argue with it, there's less mirror space for Da Costa to look out from his driver's right. But if we play the clip on a little bit more, you'll see that he's got absolutely no reaction because he's already committed on the steering angle, isn't he, Pico, to go for this move on Tictum. He's not changed angle. And that's one thing I say from the stewards here. There was no multiple change of angle. From the previous clip, if I roll this back a little bit, you can see from the exit of the corner, he has not changed the steering angle. He's always committed to want to go on the inside, isn't he?
Yeah, by this point, he has already made his decision. He is going for this move on Tictum going into the hairpin. What he doesn't know is that he's got Nick Cassidy behind him thinking, I'm going to try and make a move on Antonio. And just so be it that it's just a multitude of factors that all of them come together, and you can see that even then Da Costa is pointing to the inside. He is doing that because he doesn't know if Tictum's going to try and defend it at this point, if he's had a look. But at this point, you should kind of be opening up the steering wheel. You've got the overlap, so he can't drive into you, and if he does, he will get a penalty for it. Whereas he doesn't realise that, and we're not going to see Nick on this point of view because he's just a little bit too far back. But there is a car on the inside, and he is heading straight for that apex, not knowing that there's a car on the inside.
I've highlighted it here. Look, he takes his right hand off the butterfly steering wheel, puts it onto the top as a way because he knows he's going to need maximum angle here. And he turns the steering in. At this point, he's got no idea that Cassidy's there. And you can just about see, if you take a look, obviously the advertising banner comes up. He gets hit ever so slightly. I'm going to try and highlight it for you. It's not subtle. Take a look here at the front suspension marks. Watch those. Ready? Turning in. There. Do you see that little lunge of the front wheel coming up? That's where he's been hit already by Cassidy because the front wheel's now become gets under more pressure because he's been lifted up from the back. So the front dips down more. So he's already been hit. Immediately opens the steering up because there's no power steering, remember? So it's a force of itself. He hasn't got full contact with the wheel because he's not got his hands on the grips. So he's already lost control in my respects. He tries to get it back, but he's got a whacking great big DS right in front of him and absolutely nowhere to go. And unfortunately, we roll it on a bit more, this is just Gunther being completely unlucky. And then Tictum, as you said earlier, Pico, the driver on the outside, tries to get out of it. Did you see that there? If I watch his angle, if I highlight that. So that's the normal racing line. Watch Tictum go straight. So if I keep that on and roll it forward, there you go, look. Not following the race line. He's already taken avoiding action, but it is too late. As you can see, Da Costa's completely out of control. He's trying to steer the steering wheel. Then he tries to avoid Gunther spinning back, and Tictum's already there. Sandwich.
If I were to sway it towards one of them, I'd say Da Costa's probably more on it because he could have noticed that Cassidy was on the inside because he had, as we saw from this angle earlier, plenty of space to get down the inside.
Should it have been a penalty? Should Da Costa get a penalty for the next race? They can appeal it still, of course, the other teams.
I can't really see them appealing it. I mean, obviously from this angle, they kind of come in a little bit late. It would have been nice to have seen the onboard from Nick Cassidy as well, to see what happened from his point of view.
Got so lucky not to hit the barrier.
Yes. So yeah, Nick is basically as far in as he can go there, and so it is just
gets funneled out, as I mentioned.
Not go. But the really sharp angle of the barriers. Yeah, he He can't really go anywhere else. It is 3-1 don't go. Tictum just really unfortunate with that contact there, and it's such a small amount of contact, but it does a huge amount of damage for Tictum and takes him out of the race, unfortunately. But yeah, if I were to apportion the blame, I'd say marginally more on Da Costa than on Cassidy. But so yeah, I think potentially he could have deserved a penalty. I don't think it's as clear cut as what we saw with Nick de Vries in Sao Paulo, where you and Jack were quite critical on him not getting a penalty. But yeah, I think personally, I potentially would have given a penalty to Da Costa for that, but he finished out the points. He didn't really. Yeah, it would have made no difference whatsoever.
So in this instance, are we saying that the stewards are wrong for their decision?
Personally, yes, but I see their views.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that one as well. That it should have been a penalty, but I can see where they're coming from to let it go instead. Yeah. Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed Stewards Watch, and there'll be, I'm sure, plenty more with Formula E being Formula E when we get to Miami.